Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Philadelphia-born, Italian-based jazz woodwind player, composer, arranger, conductor, and poet Sabir Mateen. We caught up with him in his home of Bologna, Italy, to talk about a life well lived as an avant-garde jazz musician. He's originally from Philadelphia. He would move on to Los Angeles and play with a host of great musicians. He then went to New York in 1989 and worked with the legends like Cecil Taylor, William Parker, Butch Morris, William Hooker, and so many others. He's got a fascinating story. Enjoy. Yeah, hey, Joe Domino, Neon Jazz. What's going on?
Oh, life.
Yeah, it's heavy.
Just trying to survive. You know?
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you. Well, hey, thanks for taking a minute out, man.
Oh, there's no problem. You know? Yeah, it's always good.
You are one busy man. You got so much going on. What's been going on lately with you? I mean, I guess, since last March into this March 2021, how have you been doing?
So. I'm hanging in there. I'm just dealing with minor health problems, like a fungus on my leg. I haven't been able to get taken proper care because of COVID,
Yeah.
And, besides that, I'm just trying to keep afloat, I have a gig in June, my first gig in 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Due to other problems,
Yeah. So have you been working on any projects, anything creatively over the last year?
No, just been doing a lot of writing poetry and things like that, trying to keep afloat and everything and, dealing with some impossible people. But they're not Italians, But it's okay, it's okay. It's okay. I'm just, like I said, I'm just trying to hang in there. I'm waiting, trying to get the vaccine, and I'm doing that. And I have a gig in June, like I said, in Nevada. That was my first gig I played with my own group in Italy in 2007. With Matt Lavelle, Warren Smith, and Hill Green, but that was back then. I used to live there, too, for 3 years. So then I'm going to return and perform in a duet with bass player Sylvia Bolognese. You probably heard of her.
Yeah.
I used to mentor her, too,
Yeah.
Everything. And I'm very proud of her because now she's playing with the Arnold album, That was something I was very happy to hear. But we're going to do that on June 5th, And right now I'm waiting, trying to get a visa. And also, my eyes is giving me super problems. I'm suffering from cataract, And I'm in the system here, public assistance. And I've been waiting a very long time to get this operation. This laser operation,
Yeah.
So that's what's been bothering me.
Yeah.
I can't make any music for the time. I can see, even though how people tell you when they had cataract, it's like a big fog in your eye,
Yeah.
You can see it going where I'm going. I don't go out hardly at all. Been a while since I've been out, but. Maintaining, that's all we can all do now, maintaining. I'm talking to my friends in LA. There's supposed to be a 60th anniversary reunion of Ars Capitas Orchestra, which I told them, even if I get my visa, if my eyes aren't corrected, I can't make it because I can't read any music,
Yeah.
If my eyes are okay, I can go read music if I get my visa.
Yeah.
Because, right now, if I don't get my visa, I'll go and can't come back. And I'm not ready to live in the USA right now. I'm ready to go for a visit, That's not going to happen. I don't think the gig's going to happen this year either. Because LA is in turmoil,
Yeah.
It's a well, from what I hear, the whole U.S., especially the big cities, are in turmoil.
It's pretty intense. So, you start out in Philadelphia and go to L.A., ended up in Italy. How did all this happen for you?
Oh, well, in Philly, I didn't do too much professional playing in the beginning, you know. So I was playing congas and parks and everything like that. Then I got drafted, and my mother did some fast movement, and I got in the Air Force instead of the Army and shooting people, you know. So I went to do the Thailand thing. I mean, the Air Force thing. Went to Okinawa in Thailand, and came back, and I landed in California, in San Bernardino. But then I moved to L.A. with a friend of mine, and his family adopted me. You know, not papers and all that, but just adopted me into the family. That was my second family. And then I stayed there from 74 to 77. Then, you know, I was playing flute for a long time. And also, that's my first wind instrument. I had a cornet when I was a teenager, and I gave it up. But I was always singing, you know, singing mostly rhythm and blues and church music. And got to singing jazz when I became older. But, you know, then I picked up altos in the military. In the early 70s, I picked up an alto. I started playing a lot of alto. Then I started playing the tenor about a couple of years later, and that stuck with me. So when I left the military in 74, I was playing only a fife then. But when I left the military in 74, I went and got me a tenor. And I started playing with that, and playing in various R&B groups and everything. I played in the jazz band in the 70s, by the way, getting back to that. I did do that because I had my flute. And I played in the R&B band playing flute, tablas, and percussion and singing. So when I got to L.A., I finally decided I'm getting me a tenor. I got a tenor. I practiced at home. I practiced all the records, especially Coltrane records. Because, you know, Coltrane actually had turned me out since the late 60s, you know? I've been listening to Coltrane since the late 60s. And really, since the mid-60s, I just didn't know who Coltrane was. But this DJ had a song, a theme song, on a misty night, a Tad Dameron. And I kept hearing it. I said, who is this saxophone player? I said, he really stuck with me, you know, because I came from my neighborhood, which I found out actually later, but was a musical neighborhood. I had 3 cousins who plays. One plays drums and congas in Philly right now. We lived together. We grew up together. And another cousin plays alto. And another cousin who passed away, John Davis, he played alto, and he inspired me to play the flute. He was playing a lot of flute, and he played baritone. Because he also worked for Philadelphia International Records, you know, MSFB. He worked for them. Yeah. And that's what got me with the music. Him and my next door neighbor. He was a Philadelphia legend named Frisbee. You know, one of his best friends was McCoy Tyner. And I didn't know as a child that McCoy was always over there, you know, because I wasn't thinking about jazz. Even though I could hear Frisbee's saxophone. And my mother told me I always had my ears to the wall listening to him play. They had to pry me away. So that was actually my real first influence for the tenor, for alto, I mean. That was my big influence. He was a baritone player, too. And, it was interesting. Of course, I found out later, growing up, all the musicians who went over his house, you know, just about. And also, I found out that in my neighborhood lived the great bass player Eddie Mathias and the great drummer Lex Humphreys, who I had in my very first band in Philly, Lex. Yeah, so how I got to L.A. was that, like I said, I moved out there to L.A., got in there. I met up with a drummer named, of all names, James Brown. J.E. Brown, he called him. But he was a great drummer and trombonist. He made an instrument with trombone actually, but he's a great drummer. Reminded me a lot of Elvin, but he really played. We played every day, every single day. And I was going to college practicing 8 hours a day. I missed many of my classes. I would go to the performing classes and to piano class because I was a music major, but a piano major, and I played a lot of piano. And then in 1977, 76, we went to a Horace Tapscott rehearsal where Sonny Chris was there. They were doing a gig with Sonny Chris, the orchestra. And I listened to that. And I told my friend, hey, man, I'm going to be in that band. Don't know how, I don't know when, I don't know what's going to happen, or anything. Because I first saw them at my college I went to. And I said, I'm going to be in that band. Know this. And I had already knew one member in the band, K.F. Roberts. We went to school together. So I had already knew him in the band. And I had my own band in college, too. And so, lo and behold, a year later, KF called me. He said, hey, man, we need a tenor player in the band. I told him he didn't read so well since you told me that. He said, and he was Jesse Sharps. He said, I don't care, we'll teach him. That's one thing they really didn't do, but they taught me. I went and I joined the band. And there's quite a few people in that band at that time. Him, Michael Sessions, James D. Andrews. I can't remember everybody. Wendell Wynn, Aubrey Hart. Of course, KF. So who else is in the band? The great Ray Draper, Lester Robertson, Linda Hill, Bill Madison, and so I went on to progress, and then it was just a quintet with the singer, Cheryl, myself, and Raymond Wally now. And we did this, all the way until 1989 when I left for New York City. And I remained there till 2012. Last time I was there was 2014, to pay tribute to my brother Roy Campbell. That was the last time I was there. Then I moved to the small city of Nagoya, where I said I played there on tour, And Williams Curtis Mayfield Band, we played all over Italy. We played all over Italy, It was a fun group. Very fun. I loved that group, Well, I never regretted any band I played in, but some bands have special meanings, like Williams Group, Wilbur Morris's group. My 20-plus year association with Test, which we really haven't broken up. We just haven't had a gig since the passing of the drummer, Tom Bruno. But it was a lot of fun playing with Test. Very many things, very many groups. And my duets with Matt Shipp, hell, they were gems, they were master gems. That was some great stuff. I enjoy every moment of it. And I had the orchestras. I had mainly was my ensemble and my quartet, the Omni Sound. My ensemble, the last of this, anyway, going to the beginning, I featured Raphael Malik, and that was a beautiful association. And, it lasted until he passed in 2006. And I was in his group, he was in my group. We had that kind of relationship, you know, and a lot of projects that me and Roy were associated with. Never in his group, but associated in other things, you know. And those two and Rasul Sadiq were my closest trumpet associations. And so until 2012, I remained in New York. Well, I should get back to the last associated with my group, which I had violin. It was first Dave Washington, then Jason Cal Wong, Daniel Evan on cello, Jane Wong on bass, Raymond A. King on piano, and first Maurice Nolan and Michael Wimbley. We have got musical closeness and friendly closeness. And, outstanding, very outstanding. Very, very outstanding. And I've been blessed to have these things happening. I've been very blessed. The Creator made me blessed. That's all I can say. And that's how I got there to Italy. I moved to Italy. And not because of musical frustration in New York. That comes off and on, but not really musically frustrated. It was that New York was just too expensive for me, I couldn't afford the rent on my house. And they evicted me, but I was ahead of them because I knew that was going to happen. But I got evicted on the day that the sheriff was coming, but the woman in the court told me to call the office. I called the office. They said, it was a Friday. They said, they're not coming today and they're not coming Monday. So I had 4 days to pack. And it was still hard. So what I did was pack everything involving music and my marriage, which I was married 8 years. I just involved those, and left, and took all the instruments out the house, except for the piano and the drums. But the guy who helped me move was a drummer, so I told him to take the drums. I landed in Nevada. And I did a lot of associations musically. Between there, France and Slovenia. And Casey going back to New York. And this is how I ended. I moved to Bologna, which I am at now. I moved to Bologna in 2015. That's how I got my groups together. And this is where I'm at now.
Right on. What do you like the best about being a musician, a creator? What do you look forward to when you wake up every day, when you know that you can create something?
Well, when I wake up, I look forward to eating. Yeah. Sometimes I'll listen to some music, I haven't watched TV in 8 years, or a video, or maybe almost 9 years, close to 10. I'll watch a video. But when I wake up, I just look forward to getting to breakfast. And that might happen hours later, but I do that,
Yeah.
And, just get things out the way. So I'll do that, or, chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, or, do some meditating, or find a good record to listen to, or something like that, I just, I'm just happy to get up. And, in 3 weeks, Lord willing, I'll make 70 years old. And I thank the Father for that. And glad that will be happening. And I just think of many of my friends who didn't make it there. I think it's a milestone for myself. And what will I do then? Well, first of all, my life will be just beginning. Yes. And this is God's will. I'm not looking forward to saying, how you want to spend the rest of your life. I look at how I'm going to spend the next decade, which will be playing music. That's what I've been doing for the last 50-something years, and I ended.
Yeah.
You know, my idols are still alive. We got Marshall Allen, my biggest idol, at 97, hopefully, and we got Benny Golson, who's 92 soon. He is 92, not soon. And Raymond, my piano player, even though he's in hospice, he'll be 92 in 2 weeks. And we got those guys. And, Archie Shepp, 83. And a whole collective of guys who just turned 80.
Yeah.
And hey, that's what I look forward to.
Beautiful.
These guys and women.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my. That's the great thing. My cousin was just telling me about gold. I said it's hard to make a goal in music. It's the only goal I can make is to keep playing.
Yeah.
I hope I can play. That's all.
Right on. Thank you for taking a minute out today. I really appreciate you. Really opened up a lot of doors to questions that I was going to ask, but you answered. So I really appreciate you taking some time out. Good luck with everything on the return to the stage and your June gig. I appreciate your time.
Oh, no problem. I appreciate you coming to me.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview. We give you a bit of insight into the finest players in Philadelphia, L.A., New York, Italy, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. Thanks to Sabir for his time, music, and cool. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino in the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.